What if I told you that one decision, a decision made in the quiet woods by a struggling single father, would not only save a life but completely change his own? Would you believe me if I said that a whisper in the dark, faint and almost broken, could tie two hearts from completely different worlds together forever? Stay with me until the end, because this story is not just about survival, it's about redemption, love, and the miracle of second chances. Daniel Hayes was a man who knew what loss felt like. A single dad raising his 6-year-old daughter, Lily. He had been abandoned by his wife years ago, left to balance the crushing weight of bills, fatherhood, and a life that never seemed to give him a break. Every morning before the sun rose, Daniel worked long shifts as a mechanic, and every evening he carried Lily on his shoulders home from school, pretending for her sake that everything was fine. But inside, he felt invisible, just another struggling man society overlooked. It was a late autumn evening when fate intervened. Daniel had taken Lily to the woods near their small town to collect firewood. Money was tight, and they could barely afford heating, so he depended on nature for warmth. As they gathered sticks, Lily tugged at his sleeve, whispering, "Daddy, I heard something." At first, Daniel thought it was just the wind. But then he heard it too, a muffled sound, like someone crying out from beneath the earth itself. Confused and unsettled, he followed the faint sound deeper into the woods until his boot struck something unusual. The ground looked disturbed, freshly dug. He froze, his instincts screaming danger, but the faint voice came again, this time a hoarse, almost desperate whisper, "Help me." Daniel's heart pounded. He pushed Lily behind him protectively, then dropped to his knees and began clawing at the dirt with his bare hands. Panic surged through him as he realized someone was buried alive. He dug until his hands bled, until his nails cracked, until finally he uncovered a face gasping for air. It was a woman, her skin pale, her lips trembling. She looked nothing like anyone from his world. Even under the layers of mud and fear, he could tell she was someone used to wealth, someone who didn't belong in the shadows of these woods. He pulled her out, lifting her weak body into his arms as Lily watched in wide-eyed silence. The woman clutched his shirt with what little strength she had, and in that moment she whispered something that chilled him to his core, "Don't let them find me." Daniel didn't ask questions. He carried her home, where he and Lily worked through the night to clean her wounds and keep her alive. The woman's name, he would later learn, was Evelyn Carter, an heiress and one of the wealthiest women in the state. But on that night, she was not a millionaire. She was just a human being, broken, frightened, and dependent on the kindness of a stranger. As days passed, Evelyn revealed her story in pieces. She had been betrayed by people she trusted, people close to her fortune. They had left her for dead in those woods, buried under dirt, assuming no one would ever find her. But Daniel had. Against all odds, a struggling single dad with nothing to his name had given her life back, but helping her came at a cost. The men who had tried to silence Evelyn weren't finished. Strange cars began circling Daniel's neighborhood. He received threats, warnings to hand her over or else. For the first time, Daniel wasn't just fighting for survival in poverty, he was fighting to protect Evelyn, the woman he barely knew but already felt deeply connected to. Their worlds collided in a way neither expected. Evelyn, used to mansions, fine dining, and the luxury of choice, found herself in a tiny house with peeling paint and second-hand furniture. But she also found something she had never known before: real love. Not the romantic kind at first, but the love between Daniel and Lily, the laughter of a child who found joy in cardboard castles and bedtime stories, the sacrifices of a father who gave up everything for someone else. Evelyn realized she had lived with wealth all her life but had never truly been rich in spirit until she met them, and Daniel, a man who thought the universe had forgotten him, began to feel seen. Evelyn didn't look at him as a poor mechanic or a broken man. She looked at him like he mattered, like he was her hero. Slowly, what began as survival turned into something deeper, but the danger was real. One evening, men came looking for Evelyn. Daniel had to make a choice: risk his life to protect her or walk away. He stood tall, trembling but unyielding, and fought back with every ounce of strength he had. It was a brutal night, but by the time the police arrived, Evelyn was safe. The men were arrested. And Daniel, he was no longer invisible. He was the man who had saved her twice. In the aftermath, Evelyn's world could have easily swallowed Daniel's. She could have gone back to her mansion, to her wealth, leaving him behind. But she didn't. Instead, she whispered the same words that she had said to him that first night, but with a new meaning: "Don't let me go." Evelyn didn't just repay him with gratitude. She repaid him with love, with opportunity, with a partnership that changed both of their lives. Daniel and Lily were no longer scraping by, they were building a life with someone who understood that true wealth wasn't measured in money but in love, sacrifice, and second chances, and that's the miracle of this story. A single dad saved a millionaire buried alive in the woods. But in the end, it wasn't just her life he saved, it was his own. So the next time you think you're too small to matter, too broken to make a difference, remember this: sometimes the most unexpected people in the darkest moments become the light. And sometimes, one whispered plea can change everything.